Today we're talking about these amazing Olympus pen cameras. Join me. Today we're going to talk about Olympus pen cameras and why I think they're really amazing. They're wonderful cameras. I think a lot of photographers would really enjoy and benefit having one, and why I hope that Olympus will continue to keep some pen cameras in their lineup. Now the Olympus pen series cameras, they start really the mirrorless line for Olympus. So the EP1, that's this one, that was the first mirrorless camera for Olympus. And it was really groundbreaking in its time. It had a lot of great features that cameras hadn't had up to that point, and it was really compact and delivered great performance in its day. And it was the start for that. For me, the start for the Olympus pen cameras was actually my first Olympus digital camera, and that was an EPL5. And I've done a video about the EPL5, and I'll put a link in the description below if you want to go look at it. But the EPL5 is a great little camera, 16 megapixels, had a lot of great features, and I found one on eBay, and it was really affordable. Still had the boxes, instruction books, kit lens, flash, everything, low shutter count, and it was like $150. And so I bought that camera and started using it. Really enjoyed the features, really enjoyed the way it worked. And I thought it'd be nice to have kind of a second camera or a backup to that camera. And so I bought this EP1. Well, the EP1 is a neat camera. I really hadn't done much research when I bought it, but when I got it, I really just fell in love with this camera. I liked the size and the feel of it. It reminded me a lot of the rangefinder Leicas I used to use. Now I don't have any Leicas anymore. This is a Canon L2 from 1956. It does have a Leica lens on it. But you know, it reminded me of the feel and the heft and the size of those rangefinder Leicas. And so I really fell in love with it. The styling was much like the Pen F series cameras, the Pen F, Pen FT series cameras that I used to shoot, film cameras. And I knew because of those cameras that the lens quality would be great. So the Olympus Pen F series cameras, if you're not familiar with Olympus film cameras, were half frame 35 millimeter SLRs, but they looked like this. The mirror, instead of going up and down, was sidewards, and it had what was called a poro prism. And so when you look through the viewfinder, you were actually seeing a vertical image, which is quite different. But it shot 72 shots on a 36 exposure roll of film, and the image quality, despite the small negative size, was just fantastic. And those Pen F lenses were great. So I knew that Olympus could deliver on the optics. And this size camera, I wanted mirrorless. I wanted to be able to adapt, you know, vintage lenses and stuff. But when I got this EP1, I just loved the way it felt. I loved the way it worked. Now, it's only 12 megapixel, doesn't have as many features as the EPL5. You know, this was, like I say, Olympus's first mirrorless camera. So it's not as feature rich as some of the later ones. But having had that one, I decided that I wanted to get a pen series camera that was a bit more capable, and ended up buying an EP5. Now, there's an EP2 and an EP3. There is no EP4 because the word 4 in Japanese evidently sounds very similar to the word death. So they skipped 4 because they didn't want a camera that sounded like EP death, right? So then there's the 5. I don't think there's a 6, and I did some looking online. I could not find any evidence of an EP6, but there is an EP7, and that was the last of the EP series. But the thing, again, I really liked about this, the styling, the heft. It's got a metal body. The controls all were easy to the hand. You know, once you set the super control panel in an Olympus camera, the menu is really easy to use. Just really have loved these cameras. And you know, there's a lot to be said for these cameras, in that not only the styling and all that. The thing that I really liked about them was just the fact that I could take, you know, one of these cameras and a couple lenses, and I was traveling a lot at that time, and I could put that in my backpack with my laptop and all that stuff. It just didn't take up much space, and I could have a camera that would deliver professional quality results in a very small package. So now I know a lot of people have an issue with these cameras in that they only have a screen. They don't have a viewfinder built in. Now, an electronic viewfinder was available, and you can still get them used. And there's 3 different versions of digital or electronic viewfinders. There's one optical viewfinder that was made for the EP1. That's a 17 millimeter to match the little pancake lens. But there's electronic viewfinders are available if you need the viewfinder. It does kind of sit on top, and I don't think it's very attractive. But by this point in my life, I had been shooting pictures on a screen a lot, and I think everyone has to admit that we use our phones, take pictures, use the screen. We're all used to doing that. It's not like it's rocket science. Now, there's times I do want a something with a viewfinder, and for that purpose, I have both an EM5 and an EM5 Mark II. And so when I need something with a viewfinder, I'll just use one of those cameras. But when I'm just out and about shooting, I really love this EP5. It's just a fantastic camera. And again, this is not meant to be a review on a particular camera, but to talk about the performance and the quality and just the usability of these cameras. So currently Olympus still has an EPL10 listed on their website. However, they don't actually, if you click on it, you can't buy it. It doesn't, all the other cameras you can buy direct from Olympus. They have links to buy them. The EPL10, they don't. So while it's listed on their website, I'm not sure that it's actually available. I'm sure there's plenty of them out there, new old stock or whatever, but I don't know that you can actually go out and buy one. So the EP7 was the last of the EP series. The EPL10 is I think the last of the EPL series. I thought somewhere down the road I might get the digital Pen-F, and I may still seek to find one of those. These cameras, and while they're not currently really being made, it doesn't seem, they're readily available online. I was doing some looking online, and you can buy the Olympus Pen series cameras pretty inexpensively. I found EP1s for about $100, EP2s for about $80. You could get them actually a little cheaper. EP3s are about $130, starting out. EP5s are about $275. So there's a pretty big jump in price there. The EP5 though is very feature rich, so that's understandable. 7s even more expensive at about $500 to $520, and then the Pen-Fs go for $1,000 to $1,200. They're pretty expensive. Pen-F, of course, has a built-in viewfinder, and a lot of other features. The EPL10, to its credit, has a 20 megapixel sensor, so they really stepped up on that. But the 16 megapixel sensor in the EP5, I've never had. Matter of fact, the 12 megapixel sensor in the EP1, never have had any image quality issues that I would say were a result of not enough pixels. So, any of those cameras, will just do a fantastic job. And they've got some great features. Even the EP1 has image stabilization. It gets better as you go up, in later models. The things I liked about the EP5 had a tilt screen. It's got the Wi-Fi feature, which I don't really use the Wi-Fi to transfer files or images. I do occasionally use it like a remote release, because you can actually trigger the camera remotely using the Wi-Fi. And it, like I say, it's got a lot of other features in terms of exposure control and focus and whatever. But in general, it's just a very usable, fun to use camera that delivers pro quality images in a very compact format. Great for travel. Great even as just a second camera for, if you're mainly shooting one of the viewfinder cameras, the EM5 or the EM10 or EM1 or now the OM1 or OM5, any of those, the EP series cameras, the Pen series cameras make a great backup. So, you've got a very compact camera. This one was, like I say, I only paid $50 for it. It's the only camera I've ever had that was white, which I thought was a little, instead of chrome maybe or something, or black. But it's been kind of nice. I can wear this around. It's very inconspicuous. People don't think you're carrying anything around that's professional quality. It kind of just gets dismissed. So I've taken it into places where you probably shouldn't be taking cameras, and people just ignore it. Because it just doesn't look like you're a pro carrying around a camera, which I'm not necessarily a pro, but it doesn't look like I'm carrying around something that's serious. And yet it'll deliver very serious image quality. So anyway, that's just basically it. Not a review of a particular pen series cameras, but just to say that if you shoot Olympus cameras or Micro Four Thirds in general, you should really probably try out one of the pen series cameras. I'm thinking about buying an EP2. They're a little less expensive than an EP1, got a few extra features, or maybe a 3, they're just a little bit more. Not that I necessarily need another one, but I do. I just really like these cameras, and I use this EP5. I just use the dickens out of it. It is in constant use, so they're very usable cameras. They're very fun to use. You know, just really love them. There is a downside to all this, however, and I just want to be honest about that. You can't get these repaired anymore. If you have a failure of some kind, you can't send it back. Well, now the EPL10, I'm sure you probably can. But all these older pen series cameras, maybe the EP7 you could still get repaired because it was actually introduced by OM Digital Solutions, even though I think all the development work was done before they bought Olympus. But the other older ones, if you have a failure, then you can't get it repaired. But the good thing is, in a lot of cases, you could replace the camera as cheap as you would have had it repaired. So a lot of these cameras, you can actually buy another one just about as inexpensively as you could have one repaired. You know, so in that vein, maybe it's not that big a deal. As long as there's a good market, you know, used market of them, I don't think there'll be any problem with that. And they've been super reliable. I have used the dickens out of them and haven't had any kind of, you know, issues with functionality or anything needed repair. So anyway, I'm sure Olympus is probably not watching my videos. I'm sure they don't care about what I have to say, but if there is an open letter to Olympus that I could deliver, then I would just say, you know, keep a pen series camera in your lineup, you know, and maybe something a bit more serious than the EPL10, which is not a bad camera, but, you know, I know there's been some talk about will they bring out a successor to the Pen F. I hope they do. But I also would like to see them bring out a successor to the EP7, maybe an EP8 or something. Something that, you know, has a lot of the features and stuff, but doesn't quite have the cost of the Pen F. Anyway, that's it for this video. It's kind of a short one. If you have any thoughts or comments or questions, please don't hesitate to leave me a comment. I always appreciate you coming and watching my videos. And as always, thanks for watching.